You stand up, walk down the hall, close the bathroom door, and there they are again. Not barking, not scratching, not making a scene, just sitting outside the door like this tiny, weird moment matters. And honestly, it makes sense why that catches your attention. It is such a specific place to wait. So what are they really tracking there? You, the routine, or the bond? Because before we call it clingy, there may be a calmer explanation. Hidden dog signals. Understand your dog better. A lot of dogs do this. They follow you down the hallway, stop at the threshold, and wait. Sometimes they lie down with a sigh. Sometimes they sit upright, ears half forward, listening for movement on the other side. Sometimes they leave for a second, then come right back. And the reason owners notice it so strongly is because it feels almost personal. Out of the whole house, why that door? Why not go lie on the couch? Why not drink water, check the window, wander off and come back later? That is not overthinking. That is observation. When dogs cannot explain a pattern in words, owners start reading the moment. And the quick read is usually one of two things. My dog is needy, or my dog hates being separated from me for even 1 minute. But that may be asking the behavior to carry too much meaning all by itself. Here is where owners often read the moment too quickly. If your dog waits outside the bathroom, it can look clingy. It can even look a little dramatic. You disappear for 2 minutes and somehow they act like your hall monitor. But clingy is a feeling word. It describes how the behavior lands on us. It does not explain what is actually driving it. A calmer interpretation is this. Your dog may be staying close to the point where contact was interrupted. Not because the bathroom itself matters, and not because they are making some grand statement, but because you went through that doorway, the routine is familiar, and they expect you to come back through the same place. That is a very different read. Instead of, my dog cannot handle being alone for 1 second, it becomes, my dog may be holding proximity in the simplest way available. And that fits what we know more broadly about dogs. Dogs often use their owner as a secure base or safe haven, and proximity seeking is a known part of attachment-related behavior. But that does not mean every wait at every door is anxiety, or that every dog is experiencing distress. The safer read is closeness plus predictability, unless the wider pattern says otherwise. So what might actually be pulling your dog back to that exact spot? Think about what the bathroom trip looks like from your dog's side. Before, you stand up. Maybe the couch cushion lifts. Maybe your socks brush the hallway runner. Maybe the dog hears the familiar change in your footsteps. Behavior. You walk away, disappear behind a closed door, and their access to you stops at one exact point. After, you come back out through that same doorway. That sequence matters. Dogs are unusually good at tracking human movement, routines, and social cues. They often monitor owners in uncertain situations and use human behavior to guide their own responses. So the bathroom door can become a kind of return point, a place where the pattern reliably resolves. Your dog does not necessarily need to understand bathrooms. They just need to understand this. You went there, you are still nearby, and that is where you reappear. For some dogs, waiting there may simply be the most efficient way to maintain social contact during a short break in access. For others, it is a comfort pattern. For others, it is routine tracking so rehearsed that it almost looks ceremonial. And this is where owners sometimes miss something subtle. The dog is not always asking to come in. A lot of them do not scratch or whine or escalate. They just stay near the point of separation. That shape matters, because true distress usually has more weight behind it, more escalation, more inability to settle, more spillover into other moments when you leave. Waiting quietly at the return point is often a softer behavior than that. There is also a bond layer here. Affiliative dog-owner interaction can reinforce bonding biologically, including through oxytocin-linked social feedback, although that evidence is about interaction and gaze, not bathroom waiting specifically. Still, it supports the broader idea that repeated calm routines with a trusted person can become emotionally meaningful for dogs. So the mechanism may be simple: familiar separation, predictable reunion, trusted person. Repeated enough times that the dog learns, this is where I stay until the pattern closes. But the same behavior can feel very different depending on when it happens, how intense it is, and what your dog does next. Now watch how context changes the read. One dog trots over, lies down, and looks half asleep outside the door. The owner comes out. The dog stretches, turns around, and wanders off. That looks a lot like routine proximity. Another dog paces, pants, scratches the door, vocalizes, and cannot settle even during very short separations. That is a different picture. One dog only waits outside the bathroom at night when the house is dark and everyone is winding down. Another does it all day, every time the owner crosses a threshold. Different picture again. So ask yourself 3 things. What happens before? Does your dog calmly follow you because they were already nearby? What happens during? Do they settle and wait or escalate and struggle? What happens after? Do they relax the second you reappear or stay visibly keyed up? The moment before and after may tell you more than the waiting itself. And this is the part that changes how you respond. If your dog is quiet, settled, and simply waiting at a familiar point of return, that may be closeness shaped by routine. If the behavior is intense, spreading into other separations, or suddenly getting worse, that is when it deserves a closer look rather than a cute explanation. And once you see that difference, the bathroom door starts to look less weird and more revealing. Here is the stronger interpretation this behavior keeps pointing back to. Your dog may be protecting a sense of closeness during a small, predictable separation. Not with drama, not with language, just with location. That is why the bathroom matters so much less than the doorway. It is the edge between being with you and waiting for you, and that emotional shift matters. Because a lot of owners read this moment as dependency, something excessive, something slightly embarrassing. But for many dogs, it may be much gentler than that. A familiar little ritual of, I know you are in there, I know you come back, I'll stay here. That is not the same as panic. It is not proof of a problem, and it is not meaningless either. Sometimes closeness is the behavior. Sometimes routine is the mechanism, and the meaning underneath both may simply be trust. The behavior is small. The return point is the signal. So what do you actually do with that understanding the next time it happens? Next time your dog waits outside the bathroom, do not rush to label it. Watch the pattern. Notice whether they do it only with you or with anyone in the house. Notice whether they settle quietly or stay activated. Notice whether it happens most during specific routines, nighttime, getting ready for bed, morning wake-up, or moments when the house feels still. And notice what happens when you come back out. That moment tells you a lot. If they soften, stretch, and casually move on, the calmer read may be the right one. Proximity, routine, trust. If they look increasingly distressed, cannot settle, or the same pattern shows up across broader separations, do not romanticize it. Get curious about the bigger picture. Because the goal is not to turn every small behavior into a huge message. It is to read it more accurately. So why does your dog wait outside the bathroom? In many cases, not because the bathroom is magical, and not because your dog is being oddly dramatic. They may be doing something much simpler, staying near the place where you disappeared, holding on to a familiar routine, keeping closeness through a short separation until the pattern resolves. The door is not the message, the bond may be. And once you see it that way, the behavior can feel a little less strange and a little more tender. Does your dog do this every time, or only during certain routines? And what weirdly specific place do they always wait for you? Tell me below. That may be the next behavior we decode. Hidden dog signals. Understand your dog better.